Hello again, everybody. It's Harry Boxer, the technical trader at thetechtrader.com. It's December the 10th, Saturday, my birthday, and I'm glad to still be here. Folks, the markets had a rough week, and not too surprising based on the fact that the declining tops line was tagged and pulled back from. We were unable to get through it. And now the problem is we're at support, around 3,900. We get underneath that, we're looking at 38 and 37 as the next targets if we break down. We managed to hold in here and have this be nothing more than a bull wedge in another wave, meaning 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the possibilities are that if we blow out, that the fifth wave could take us to 41.65, even as high as 42.25 or more. But for now, let's see if we break down or out. Underneath here, the 50-day moving average comes in at about 38.40. That's a number to keep in mind. The NASDAQ 100, a little weaker. Never had as much of a run up. The parallel channel says we're at support, as is the S&P. With the moving average now the 50 at 11.374, the close at 11.563. We have about a 200-point buffer, but anything underneath, say 11.4, could spell disaster, and the test of at least 11.235, and maybe even down around 11,000 or less. So this is a point at which the market has to put up or shut up, or should I say the bulls do. And if it's going to be time to go, it'll go early next week and rip or roll over and get slammed dunk. This is going to be a very, very important couple days coming up. The transportation index is already broken. That's not true. It's right at it. The IWM did. If you look at the support here, moving average support, well, that comes in around 13.530. The close, 13.760. So we got about 230-point buffer there, maybe. But in terms of lateral price support, we're right on it here. The trend's already been broken. If you step back and look at that, we've had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a rally back, but twice unable to get to resistance. If we do get to 14.750, your targets at 15.5 or better. Underneath here, though, there's a problem. The problem is that the market is going to show some support at deeper levels, and the retrace, even at 0.618, could take it out at 12.8 or 12.9. The IWM, well, here's what I was talking about earlier, the slight break of the trend line, but not a lateral price support. And this is the big number. You take out 174 on IWM, you're probably going to see 163 or worse. So this is a time for the market to put a show on and hold it and go. We'll see. What do the underlying technicals look like? Well, the IWM, excuse me, the T2106, which is the clown oscillator on TC2000, has been in a steady decline since it peaked and spiked to 237. Down at minus 88. I'm looking to see if we can get a little bit more downside extension early next week and then a big rally back. That's what I'm looking for. The percentage of stocks above the 40 pulled back a little bit. It's about only half now. It was as high as 3/4 of. The VIX really hasn't done much, but it finally shown a decline, a break out of the channel, which when it happened in August, had a big run up and the market pulled back. This could still move up into the 26, 27 range or more, but not giving me any big clues yet, but because it just stuck its head out. It might only be that. But right now, connecting the tops, and that's what it looks like. In terms of the major components, this is a key for me. Look at Apple. Apple's in a wedge and weak. Quite frankly, considering stocks like Netflix and some others that are running, this is a weak sister. If Apple breaks its wedge to the downside, you're going to 136, and a break of that is 129. Is this a massive top? I'm going to find out. But I'll tell you what, if Apple needs to break out over 151 and really get going again, and then 156 is your next target. Amazon is no beauty. It's worse than Apple. As you can see, from a high of 188, double top actually, of 188, exactly a year ago, Amazon's come all the way down to 89, so losing 100 points. And the bounce to resistance for that was broken here, and then the pullback in a three-wave corrective falling wedge. I don't know what this is, but you do not want Amazon below 85 3/4. Stay tuned. We're going to find out. Google, well, it was looking okay, but that pullback now has been 6 days in a row, 7 days. 7 days in a row, and it's gone below the double bottom and closed there on Friday. So the gap here is your next support on Google. That's at 91.65. We can hold it, great. If not, we can come down to these levels or even all the way down to 79.80 at some point. I don't think that's the case, but you never know if we get a bear market. Now here's the beauty. Look at Netflix. Ignoring most of the NASDAQ 100 generals, this thing just kept going. From a spike low in the mid 160s, it's doubled to 329. Amazing move for Netflix. But look at the slam dunk. Over 700 down to 164. And that took only 7 months. Over the last few months, it's worked on a nice steady rise. But you have resistance here on the gap fill. And it remains to be seen what Netflix does going forward. Meta also has done very well of late with a pop, wedge breakout, and another wedge. So it's in a 4-wave move. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if the market does rally, I suspect we get up to about 130. 129.30 is your next target for Meta. Minor support right here, 112 3/4. This is the big one though, 108. Tesla, still in a steady declining channel, although this could be a V bottom with a right-handed extension, double bottom, whatever you want to call it. Tesla has to come up through 200, 202 for me to say this is turned around. If it doesn't, and that maintains the downtrend, I'm targeting 145. Microsoft, nice inverse head and shoulder breakout retest. I just need Microsoft to hold right there at about 236. If it does, your target's at 266.68. Let's see if that declining top line is eventually broken or not. Could be a bottom, could be nothing more than a big wedge if you look at it this way. And if that's a bear wedge, look out below. We'll find out. It looks like a fan formation breaking to the upside, so I'm optimistic on Microsoft. And NVIDIA is probably one of the stronger stocks along with Netflix. If you take a look at the V bottom, reversal from 108 to Friday's high, 176 nearly. So big move, 68 points. About 65% move on NVIDIA in about 2 months. But it is up against resistance. The positive part is it had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave decline, a breakout, and consolidation, moving averages crossing over. So for me, the best 3 stocks on the board would be Netflix, NVIDIA, and I like Microsoft too. Meta's improving, but those 4 are the ones to watch. Okay, so now we've gone over the technicals and the NASDAQ 100 generals. As we usually do, we look at the leading groups and their ETFs. SMH, take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down, big reversal, engulfing reversal bar, and a move up to resistance. Slightly above the declining top line, and backing and filling here for like 3 weeks now. Big support. You don't want another 212.5, 13. If you can get SMH above 230, I think you got a bull phase underway, and that'll probably go up to 244.5. But that's a promising pattern with a moving average crossing over and the stock consolidating above it. One of my favorite patterns for long-term plays right now. So that favors the bull side. What about financials? Well, financials are similar, but the last pullback we had this week took it underneath first support. Second support would be the moving average at 72-ish, and then 68 is a must hold or look out. There's big resistance here in the 90-92 zone for FAS. Well, biotechs, they're not cooperating either. Not lately, not this week. The LEBU, which got up and tested the high again, over 8. I'm sorry, I'm looking at XBI. The XBI resistance at 86.5 got up to 85, 83 and backed off. There's a rising line there, needs to hold, and the big problem for the biotechs is if that gets under 76. Look at LABU, similar, unable to get above 8. The 8, 10, 40 zone, that's a big resistance level. Look at the multiple tops there. So if we crack them, there's a shot. You come all the way down there at 4, 4.25. We break out. I'm looking for 10, and I'm looking for 13. I mean, this could be either way. Right now, it favors the downside because it comes off of a down move, and it's at the bottom of the pattern, so it could easily break. Touch and go here, folks. So other ETFs of interest is always oil. The USO finally broke and then bounced, but I'm not happy with the way this looks. And I'm telling you that when I told you this looked like a head and shoulders right here in this range, and it formed a wedge, rolled over from 77.72 down to 61.81. So it's lost 16 points in the last month in USO. The gush, a little different because it's a double. It's just rolled over Beethoven. I told you guys and gals that you needed to hold 167. That did not happen. It's been down 7 days in a row, and the 190 to 134, that's a huge drop, and it's on the long-term trend line now. So a break here, and we're looking at a move down in the 100 to 103 range, which would be quite the move down from the two, basically in half from the high. So dangerous pattern, maybe a large top for me. That's why I'm not high. And you'll see a lot of the oil stocks today that I'm going to show you that have rolled over, or even on my short list now. Okay, what about gold and silver? Well, the GDX continues to look positive. The inverse head and shoulder, the breakout, the retest, the pop, and now a wedge, although Friday was not a good close for gold and gold stocks. The JNUG and Nugget, both in a positive frame on crossover moving averages, declining top sign broken, lateral price resistance broken, platforms formed, breakouts occurred, the stock look higher. Nugget looking for 43, JNUG looking for 47. I would say 33, 3.5 for GDX. On the silver side, AGQ looks good too. The bottom wedge, look how it held the moving averages. They've crossed over like 6 weeks ago. Now this is running. My targets 33, 36, and then 40, 41. AGQ. What about natural gas? Well, Boyle did snap back finally after getting hammered hard. But it only looks like a 1, 2, 3. Now, this is wave 4, could be, but the bottom line is, and this is called an exhaustion gap to the downside, and a selling climax and big volume followed by reversal. 3 days in a row, the Boyle's been up, moving from 26 to 35. Nice move. It's at resistance, big resistance here, and with this gap fill, you may get a V bottom of the right hand extension, so it could pull back, but if it blows through, your next target is 41. 41 on Boyle. The opposite is cold, and you can see how it ran up sharply, and now it's pulled back near support. It's going to be tricky on those two next week. So it covers your gold and silver and your oil and gas. Let's go. We have a lot of charts to look at. ACLX, or CELX, broke out with a breakaway gap on Friday on big volume, and it closed above the all-time high. And this may run into the mid-30s. AGQ I just showed you. ANF, the retailers did doing better. Now, ANF's got hammered all the way back down from 50 or so. What's the high? 49-ish. Yeah, all the way down at 14. It's turned it around. It broke through a double top. It's into the gap, and it's flagging. So your next target has to be 27. Tech Trader Swing AOUT flagging after the pop and breakout reached the first target. Next target is 12 3/4. Support 10. APA, a perfect example of a stock that may be rolling over. We got to be careful. Look at the long-term channel. I mean, this stock's gone from literally $3, $4 into the 50s. But this little pattern here broke down on Friday. And your next support is 39. And then you have the trend line coming in around 38. So 38.9 is a big support down here. I just feel like oil may be rolling over, and there's a massive resistance level up here at 51. Apps pop, we put a swing on it. It's back and filled in a coil. I just needed to hold 15. Your target's 2021 and then 24.5. ARQQ exploded and pulled back. It looks intriguing. Keep an eye on it for a trade. Resistance 8.5, 10 3/4. Those are also targets. Gold stock AU had a strong surge in early November. You can see what it's done since. Kind of in a rising channel, but Friday wasn't pretty as they reversed off of key resistance, which right now seems to be that gap fill. So next target is 21.5 if it does break out. AVDL with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-way move and then a pullback, and then it stares up this way higher and has a beautiful long-term chart. Currently in a consolidation retest. Your next target is 11. BAND broke out. We put a swing on it. I think that was day before you, Thursday. Little inside day Friday is a good sign. Targeting 29 and 33.4. BEAT popped, broke out, put a swing on it. It did back off Friday, but it was an inside day as well. My targets are 6 3/4 and 8. Billy has been a monster. This Chinese stock has more than tripled. 8.23 to 26.31 in about 6 weeks. Pretty impressive move. Is it overbought? Sure. What's the target? 28.5 and 33 if it extends. Careful on that one though. Bluebird broke out. We put a swing on it. It ran to the target and back and filled. It ran up again and back and filled, formed a flag, and then popped again. Finally pulled out and broke out, but it's backed off yet again. So we'll have to just see if it continues. But a move over 8.5, I think get you 10 and 12. Look at this Cabaletta bio. 59 cents, 9.23. 6 weeks later, 6.17. 1,000%. Pretty impressive chart, and it doesn't look done yet, does it? Look at that angle. It's not all-time highs, and there is some resistance right here at 12. Yeah, 12.5 is your target eventually, but I wouldn't bet the farm on that one. It's got a lot of work to do. It just broke out, so there's a lot of reasons why this can extend. I'm wrong, that's not correct. 720 is your next target. Seco Environmental, beautiful chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a consolidation. I don't know if it goes further. The stop's under 1080. We get above 13, the stock could be in the mid-teens. CGC collapsed last week along with the entire marijuana group based on a halt in legislation for marijuana to legalize it. You can see how great this looked before that, and it broke out only to turn around and come down hard. It's at secondary support and in danger of a complete collapse back to the support levels 22.25. Kohu, nice inverse head and shoulder breakout wedge. I just wanted to show it to you. Declining tops line broken, a pop and wedge. Your target 39.5 and low 40s. CPRX, this biotech's been a phenomenal trend, gone from 2.5 into the high teens, and now you can see a wedge forming. Really nice chart. We get this one above 18, you're looking at 21. DMRC, another long-term 5-wave decline with a bit double bottom base. Breakout platform, my favorite pattern. Moving averages across over. If we pop out of here, 29.35 are your targets on DMRC. Possibly a good swing, keep an eye on it. The XCM broke out, pulled back and retested, exploded, flagged, broke out, and then backed off Friday. But I think it's going to extend at some point. If the market cooperates, you'll see 132. EDAP, this little puppy's been in a long-term pattern that was real choppy for years, but now look at this. 6 to 11.5, nearly doubled. The pullback is just a support level of 1040, and your target's 12, 12.25. EDU is a new tech trader swing. It broke out, it popped up, and then it pulled back, but my target's going to be 39.5 at some point. EH, long-term downtrend. A explosive move out of a falling wedge here, and now a consolidation. 8 3/4, 10 and 12 are long-term targets, but you may need a period of consolidation on this one. Although it is a key breakout, and moving average have crossed over, and the downtrend is completed. EHTH seems to want to do the same thing. Broke out, pulled back, retested, made a higher low, and then popped sharply to the resistance level in that zone around 5.5. We get through that, your next target's 7. Your support 395.4. ELF's been phenomenal. I show it to you every week, and it's still going. From the May low at the 21 range, this stock has gone into the mid 50s and it's flagging. My target 60. EPOW a little choppy of late. They had some positive, very positive news. The stock popped Wednesday, Thursday, and back gave a little pullback on Friday. More than a little, about 10%. Still, support is 3.25 and 2 3/4. The resistance is 5.25 or 5.10, and then that's your target, along with 6 and 7 3/4. ETNB, beautiful long-term chart, breaks out there, wedges, pops, falling wedge, breaks out, another coil. Your next target, 13.5, 14. EXTR breaks out, wedges, pops, and runs. Beautiful run from 830 to 21, nearly tripling. Right now, the angle of ascent tells me this could be $25. FCX. Well, it says Tech Trader swing. It broke out of the base. We put a swing on it and ran up and wedged and popped out again. Some bigger resistance here at 41 and then 43. Those are your short-term targets, longer term, high 40s. FDMT exploded and it's been flagging. It popped sharply on Thursday, had an inside day Friday. My targets 30 and 36.7. First Solar finally pulling back. This group has been weak of late. It was very strong for a long time. I'm thinking the angle has changed. I'm going to redraw it to look like this. As a result of that, pull this back to there. There's your angle. After an explosive move, it's settled into a better 45-degree angle. The only thing you don't want to see is a breakdown under support, which right now is here. Stop is under 144, but it could be an entry opportunity on a 1, 2, 3, 4 for a fifth wave that takes you to 190. So keep an eye on First Solar and keep a stop under the 143.4 zone. If UTU, Chinese market was very hot in the last couple of few days, and this one no exception. It's been hot for 6-7 weeks now. Spiked down, almost an island reversal, down to 28, and within 6 weeks, it's 70. How's that for almost a triple? And it doesn't look done yet. Although there might be a double top there, I would stop this one under 63, targeting 74. GILD breaks out of a base, phenomenal chart. Resistance was right there. It exploded, gapped, flagged, and just look at the rising channel on this one. The angle of ascent is powerful. You don't see that too often. When you do, you ride the tide until it breaks. And your support is right around 85. Target 94. GOWG would look great for a long downtrend, base breakout, flagged and popped again, but boy, with marijuana legislation put on hold, they took this one to the tank as well. 8.5 to under 6. Pretty quickly, your support at GOWG is 550. Hudson, showing you this almost every week too for the last year or two. It's gone from 32 cents, folks, to almost $12. And it doesn't look done yet. I have targets in the mid-teens and high teens, maybe 20. HIMS, something new. I've been watching this one. It broke out a month ago, flagged, and popped again last week. We're right at resistance, but the next target is 9, 9.25. This one could be a little swing. HIMX also with a multiple wave move down and a breakout with a flag. So I need this one, this junior semiconductor stock, to hold there, pop there, and run into the 8 3/4, 9.5 rate. HLIT, pop, flag, pop, and now a wedge of sorts right there. And you can see that we got to take that wedge out in wave 4 to get into the fifth wave up to 1820. Huya, another Chinese stock with a massive move, specifically on Friday when it went 283 to 379 on 15 million shares on a breakout. Now it did get up to resistance right there from that high that we had back in August. So if it pulls back, backs and fills here, it could be a setup for the next move to $5. IMMR, several biotechs I like. This is a long-term base breakout and sharp run up. There's some resistance right there, but your next target is 9 and 10. IMRA, pop, coil, pop, pullback, falling wedge of sorts here. A good day on Friday, not a great one because it backed off. I'll now change the angle to look more like this now. Nevertheless, if it extends here with any kind of volume, it could explode. The stop would be under 360. INBT also, explosive move, pop, flag, and a rising channel that could get to 17, 18, 19. Great chart. INBX was a tech-traded swing there. It met our target there and then came down hard but broke back out again. And now it's been platforming for 2 months. Not sure what it's going to do here, but I needed to hold 24. Stop into that. Target's 32, 33, and then 42, 43. INMD, slow but steady run up. It's currently in a 3-4 week consolidation. My target's 43. IoT, Internet of Things, or Samsara. You can see what's developing here. It's a breakout. The breakaway gap and a pullback retest at the 50 and then a run up, and that's a breakout too. So near-term resistance and target is just under 14, and then your target's 15 and a half and 17. Kinetica Pharmaceuticals, beautiful rising channel. Hit the top of it and near resistance and target and backed off, but it's consolidating nicely enough to say that if the market cooperates and this doesn't take out 1450 where support is, it targets 18 and a half. How about this move in Kintara? 352 to 15 and a half, almost a 5-fold increase in 2 weeks. Amazing move. It is at resistance, so I suspect we're back and fill in this area, but momentum could carry it into the low 20s. LI, tech traded swing, broke out. We put a swing on it. It popped to resistance at the first target. Broke out on Thursday, had an island reversal that backed down on Friday. Not a good sign. So we're a very bad earnings report. This stock may suddenly be out of favor. Be careful. Luna, one of our old favorites from back here. If you remember, we had a really big winner on that one. We went from like 2 3/4 to about 12 at one point. Has come all the way down in multiple ways and finally turned it around. Broke out here. It's that secondary resistance. Your targets now are 9 and 11. LVTX broke out a wedge. We put a swing on it. Immediately collapsed back down to the prior high. But look at that recovery. How about a run from 330, more than doubling to 735? And now the pullback. But the channel's so strong that if it keeps going, 8.5 is your target. MDRX double bottom, break out of the base and a flag. I like that pattern. Targets of 21 and 23. MGNI, that's the tech traded swing, I believe. Popped, exploded, wedged, broke out again, and backed off. I think your next target is going to have to be upwards in that zone right there at about 15. MLCO, well, this is ever since they got the renewal of the license of Macau, the stock gone vertical, literally from 6.5 to more than 12, almost a double. Stock's a little overbought, needs to back and fill, I think, but set up better. But the ultimate target's 14 or better. MNSO, a long-term declining pattern. I saw it go from the mid-30s down to single digits in the 4 range. Double bottomed at 450. Ran up sharply. Now it's tripled the 13 for the pullback and the bounce. Target 14 and 16 and a half. MNTV breaks out a long-term declining pattern. The moving averages cross over. The stock's been consolidating for weeks now above that, but it does have to hold 695.7. If it does and starts to move, targeting 9 and 10 and a half. MODN's been in a beautiful rising channel for months, ever since its low near 21 in May. It's doubled to 40, and it's been consolidating in a rising wedge right there. We get out of here, targets at 42 and 45. Momo, talk about Momo. Look at the momentum on this one. Huge monster move, 45 million shares, up 31%. After breaking out on Thursday, had the big follow through on Friday. Your target now is 11 and 13 and a half. NEO breaks out of a base with a breakaway gap like the other Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers. Got up to resistance, actually a little bit above it right there. and then back to fill. It looks fine if it can hold this area. It just needed to hold, say, 12 ideally, and then run. If it does, 15 and 17 are targets. NIO has been even stronger than any of those stocks, and it's kind of virtually up nearly every day, except for this one day. But look at that. 2.5, 3 weeks straight up from 285 to almost 6. The next target would be 7.25. Nutanix swing here in the low 20s has made it to the low 30s. 31.98 was a high. Really nice chart. I like the company and the pattern, of course. Your next target is 34. OM popped and pulled back. We put a swing on it when it broke out here, I believe, about 17. It's made it into the 24 range, and my target now is 27. Pac B, well, had a nice run after breaking out here. Put a swing on it at 6.75, I believe. It made it up to 12.37 for almost a double, and then pulled back. Pulled back, broke support, and so it's in a dangerous position here. Stop under 8.5. Puma, large inverse head and shoulders after a long downtrend. Breakout and a wedge and a pop on Thursday, but Friday was an inside day. So keep an eye on this one. Should you get above 460, it could take off. The targets would be 5.5 and 6.5. Pinduoduo, another Chinese stock with a breakout and a key one, continues to look great. After bottoming at 39 and change, the stock's made it to 92. Big move, and I mean, in just a couple months, not even that. Target 100. PDSB with a long downtrend. This is a biotech stock that double bottomed, had a breakaway gap, formed a wedge and popped, and forming another wedge. Ultimate target 12.5. Perion, I gave you this one several times, but it first came up at 5.75 back in 2020 and made it eventually into the low 30s. Took several months to base out. It's broken out, now it's retesting. My target 31 and 33. Now PHVS had one of the biggest days I've seen in a long time. It went from 251 to 1194 the next day. Held it, but then Friday came down. Don't know what to do with this. I will say this, it's probably going to retest in the 6-7 zone, so be careful. It should have popped above 12. It could get up here to test the gap at 14.85. Impinj popped and broke out. We put a swing on it. It backed off. It eventually made a new high. Got up to 129 from about the 117 range. Not a lot. Now it's pulled back. It's on the trend line. Expensive stock. I would say as long as it holds last week low, 111, 11.5, I'm still good with it. Next support is 102. PRPL, long downtrend for this retailer. You may remember when we got in at 8.75 and watched this thing go into the 40s. Right now, the base broke out and it's got back and filled before the breakout Friday. It really looks good to me. I think 6 and 8 are targets. Ramp, a long-term downtrend as well, taking it from 88 down into the teens. Big breakaway gap, run up to resistance, flag pop, and now wedge and coiling again. Keep your eye on this one. I really like the look of this. If this thing gets above 22.75, 23, it could really run into the mid-20s and high 20s, and I think it's a great opportunity for a swing trade. Breakaway gap, platform, moving averages, crossover. I'll be watching this one closely for an entry. RELL, well, we've been showing you this one for a year or two. What a great chart. It's gone literally from 3 to 27, and it just keeps going, and it doesn't look like it's done yet. There's another wedge there. Your next target, 30. Nice biotech inverse head and shoulders or basing pattern rounding bottom, whatever you want to call it. It broke out. It broke out Wednesday, followed through Thursday. Friday was a nice day. Got up to the decline tops under near it. The target is 27.8 and 31. RLX, big move of late. Double bottom down about $1. It's blown to 3, so it's a triple, and it's done it with some big volume. Be careful here. Your support is 235. Your target is 3.75, 4. RMED, I love this chart. Pop out of a declining channel with a gap and a breakaway gap with big volume, and next day broke again and had big volume, then backed off. But take a look. Since then, it's wedged and broken out again, only to back off again from resistance on Friday. But your targets now are 6.25 and 8. RNG is a tech trader swing. It popped, pulled back. It's consolidating, coiling. I like the pattern. It's a long-term downtrend broken. Let's see if this one can lift. Your targets are 42 and 45. Rio band or Roy band, Roy band. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-way move already. And their resistance has this one vulnerable. But do I love this chart? Indeed I do. And if it continues, $8 is the target. RBP with a 1, 2, 3, 4. It's right on support here. The stop would be under 3. Your targets 5, 6, and 8. Rhythm was one of our big winners this year, as we know. Once it got through here on that day, I put out a swing back, I think it was July 12th, around the 5 3/4 range. Eventually, within 2 months, was up to 28 change, and over the last 4 months, going sideways, going nowhere. But keep an eye on this one above 28 and 3/4. It could fly into the mid 30s. Saba, 1, 2, 3, and then a long 4. Key support 29.30. Resistance we just broke through on Thursday. The key next resistance and targets are 44 and 50. SCO has moved up sharply. That's the ultra short crude oil. I believe that the big base pattern that's formed could be a setup for a move into the high 30s, low 40s. We'll see. Seed, I think, is this close to exploding. If you guys see the stock next week above 1080, that would be a 1-month high. It'll probably blow to 12 and a quarter and go to 14, 16, 18. I think with the news that I think might be coming, the stock has an inverse head and shoulders that had a really nice setup for a big move like it had here when it went from 2 3/4 to 29. And that's a personal position. Like SKYT was a tech trader swing here. It did very well, but it collapsed. Broke out again. I think we're swinging this one again. And you can see the pullback wedge. It just needed to hold 8.5. It targets 12, 12.5, and 16. The silver sector, I didn't show you SLV earlier, similar to AGQ. It looks real strong technically, targeting 22.5 and 24. SMMT, one of the bigger moves we've seen in a while. In a week, 66 cents. Thursday's high at 450. And then a pullback, but a recovery and a nice day on Friday. This stock may not be done. With this momentum, we can see 6 or 7. Hold on. STIM which breaks out of a base and is a beautiful rising channel. The V bottom with the right-handed extension and the breakout came right there. Should have been a good swing at about 3 3/4. It made it up to 6 3/4. And now it's consolidating. Next targets are 8 and 9. STNG in the shipping group, what a pattern and what a powerful chart. I don't know how long they last, but until this breaks, right now your support is right about here. Across this level, that would be my first stop. Right there. Call that 45. A move above here and the target 60, 62. TAL was a tech trader swing here. It worked, but then it collapsed. I didn't put a new swing on it, but it should have. Look at the V bottom platform breakout. It's like $9 target coming. If it pulls back, we may be an opportunity early next week. TBLA exploded, pulled back, popped. It's a tech trader swing. I thought that the wedge would form, and it has, but I don't want it under 240. Targets 3 1/4, 3/4, and 5. DH, beautiful 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th wave may be underway. It's been a little hesitant here at 16, but my target's 20. The MDX long-term chart as well, big bottom in February, steady channel. See the rising flag is forming here. Ultimately, I can see this making it into the 80s. TME, long base, beautiful breakout, little wedge, explosive move to the first target. Next target, 9 1/4.5. UCL virtually from 46 cents to 430, nearly 1,000%, nearly 10-fold increase. Now the consolidation is underway. The next target is about 6 1/4. VLN, I like the fact that it broke out of the base and pulled back and it's flagging in here. My targets are 6 and 7. VRNA with a breakaway gap and pullback, broke out here. This is a tech trader swing, I believe. And the resistance is clear at about 14.5. We get through that, it's 17.5, 18. VRT, also a tech trader swing, broke out. It's consolidating. If I can get out of this pattern, this consolidation above the, neckline, then we got a shot at 16, 18, and 19. YEXT broke out of a base, and it's been beautifully consolidated. Something's up here. This one looks like 7.5 and 8.5 are targets. Zeta popping out of a coil on Friday might have more to go. I'm looking for 10 and 11. And finally, Zixi has been one of our biggest winners this year. Went from, I think, a bit in July when it was trading at 7, more than doubled to 14.55, and you can see the consolidation taking place. Next target, 16 and 18. Now we'll look at some of the shorts and we'll finish up. Align Right's been an ugly down channel all year and continues to look ugly. Obviously, the stock would be above here, but if it rolls over, support is now 172. Underneath that, you're looking at stock about 140. ABNT with a rising wedge, but in a bearish pattern. Obviously, easy stop over 36 recovering, but a rollover here gets you down into the 31 and then 28 zones. AYX also in a big downtrend all year, has dropped from 175 down into the low 40s. A little bit of a reversal last week, we'll see, but if it halts right in that zone, it may very well roll over and see lower levels. Careful on that one in particular. BILL, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a truncated fifth wave, maybe a base forming, but again, underneath here, this thing could collapse and run into the 80s and 70s. It's very vulnerable, but at the same time, I would put a stop over 128. CDNA in a long-term downtrend, and boy, is it ugly. After breaking down and forming a bear wedge here, it just kept stair-stepping its way down. I don't see the market this responding to the market at all, and it looks even lower. Your next target, 10. CBNA, well, nothing to do about Carvana. Obviously, the stock got destroyed. From where we gave it to you at 155, it's gotten down 3.5. It was a bounce Thursday, Friday, but the key resistance is 6.5 now. DINO, something new. I believe some of the oil stocks are going to get hammered. Take a look at Sinclair as it breaks support. It breaks trend line, moving averages. Any bounce on this one, the mid 50s would be a short for me. Your target 41.2. ESTC remains in a downtrend. Ugly chart as well, but you can see that if it breaks the triple bottom here, it targets 40.41. EXPE, well, the EXPE came down, this little head and shoulder formed, and it broke the neckline right about there. You can see that the consolidation could be a base, but it could be just a bare consolidation pattern. Right now, it looks like it. Somewhat of a falling wedge of sorts. Let's just say that if this cracks, you're going to see the stock in the 70 range. But for now, stop is over 108.9. Laredo Petroleum, that's another oil stock that I think is in the process of maybe rolling over. If you want to go short oil, Dino, Sinclair, and Laredo LPI look like two potential candidates, targeting 34 and high 20s. Net, well, Cloudflare has been an ugly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has held near the bottom of the third wave and retested. So anything above 58 is a stop, and that's 10 points from here. You may want to consider a tighter stop than that. But if it breaks down underneath 41, look out below. Overstock's been ugly for a long time, and anything Bitcoin related doesn't look good to me. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe. Hard to say. This might just be 1, 2, 3, 4. But a sliding channel and a break of this wedge, I would be short, stay short Overstock until I see much lower levels, in my opinion. Robert Half, you can see how Robert Half head and shoulder top broke down from the rising wedge, formed a large consolidation and then collapsed. This is where I suggested covering around 65. It's 65.40 bounce, but look at this. It rolls over again, you're going to see something in the low 60s. Snowflake, well, I've considering how good a chart it was there, this has really come down and got crushed from 400 to 108. The rally to 200 and doubling it finally came down again. And you can see that this is a tough call. Above 159.60, probably cover, but if it fades and rolls over, we can see even lower levels. Shutterstock, ugly as all hell, but when you see a stock that goes from 125 down to 45, you should probably want to cover. In any case, though, I'm not seeing any real strength in this one. And quite frankly, if it breaks this pattern right here, and I think it already broke that pattern. So careful, next stop is 44. TEAM with a big wedge. I'm not clear what's the base. It looks like a bear wedge. This has had an ugly, big decline that's taken it from nearly 500 down to 115. And yet, if it breaks this bear wedge to the downside, 91 is your target. Tandem, bear, flag. This is where we went short, 100. It's dropped down to 33.80 and bounced. Right now, I'm looking for retest of lows or worse. Could project into the high 20s. Trex has been down on dirty, but it broke here. Wedge, flag, and a large wedge is forming yet again. If you see this one crack, look out below. On the other hand, over 50, probably a good cover. Downside target's 34. TTEC, big downtrend and a rising bear wedge. I don't know what to make of this yet, but if it keeps going down, we can see mid 30s. New one, tech target, looks like it's completed a large head and shoulders type pattern. There's your breakdown, and there's a bear wedge, and the stock looks lower. Your target's 31.2, 10 points below here. Upwork looks like downwork, continues to drift lower, now underneath support there. Don't know what to make of this other than to say if it continues, we might see mid-single digits. The world acceptance broke the pattern. It's been in a 1, 2, 3, 4 big fifth wave down, but a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down. So this could reverse. It is a falling wedge. Careful, but if it breaks down, your target's 58.9. ZM, Zoom, you can see this ugly, ugly pattern, nearly $600 2 years ago, and it got into the high 60s. It looks like it's about to edge lower. The target is now 52.55. But get careful on that one because it could pop. And finally, Zscaler, look at this pattern. One, double bottom near and barely a bounce. If we take that out, my next target is approximately 93.94. Folks, that's a look at some of the shorts, but we have 100 loans to consider. And we have a lot of really important action coming ahead of us next week, so be very careful. Please review this at length, if not several times, and get some ideas and get yourself set up for next week. I'll talk to you on Monday. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye, everybody.